days from now, nobody will stop me from being the one that'll throw the switch and gas you out of this life for good, you son of a bitch!
Get away from her, you bitch!
I'm connecting the bypass circuit now, sir. It should take another half hour.
Captain, one of the aliens has just entered the bridge.
Understood.
We're less than 1 million kilometers from the pulsars. We must...
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Women of Nerd Culture. I'm Sarah, one of your hosts, and I am joined by the ever-lovely Becca, as normal. And we have a special guest.
First guest.
It's
Hey!
Hey! the now officially crowned comedy queen.
Oh, for fuck's I knew.
But we're not going to talk about that, but we're going to talk about books, stories, characters and authors this month. And we thought that Kelly was a great option to ask to come on and have a chat with us. But first of all, before we get into anything, let's just say that, you know, we've all got opinions and that's wonderful. If you'd like to discuss ours or let us know your own, comment below. Leave us a message or join the Nerdy Up North Facebook. You know, they're on Instagram, they're on TikTok, pretty much everywhere these days. Just don't be a dick.
It's rule number one of life. Don't be a dick.
Rule number one, don't be a dick. And
this podcast is the Women of Nerd Culture. We are the Women of Nerd Culture, you know. It's our opinions.
Reet. We've asked this lady on.
Hi.
Because she's very well read.
I'm ready. Yes, crikey. Yeah, in my past life, I was an English literature and language teacher. My degree is in language.
One of the mods for the Nerdy Up North Book Club.
Oh yes, I love deleting there. Come buy my books.
Yes, the spam.
Yeah,
the spam is unreal at the moment.
Who wants my books? Buy my books. And I'm just like, you're in Rio de Janeiro. What the hell?
What you doing in a Northern
yesterday?
Yes, it has been a bit unreal at the moment because Paul has just literally made me a mod in the book group, and it's unreal the amount of people that are trying to sell books, but it's the same photos, the same ACOTAR books.
Yeah, ACOTAR, and I was like, what the frig is ACOTAR? Like...
Yeah, no, I've got to give a shout out to Sarah Hughes, who has been she has been a security guard for the book group for the last couple of weeks. She has been baiting them. She has been DMing them. You know, that woman. I am impressed with her skills because her skills, you know, her vibes, 100%. She has not got one person wrong at the moment, and I'm impressed. So she gets a good shout out for this. And I also think Piper deserves a shout out for the book group because she's done a fantastic job of modding it. You know, she's always got things interesting to say. She's always there with a theme of the month and telling us when you can stuff your Kindle days.
I love those days. My Kindle is stuffed, but like, frig, have I been reading them?
Yes, and we will put the link to the book group below. But yes, so this month,
books. It's books, yay! So yes, Kelly was an appropriate choice to have a chat. We figured.
No.
So how are you doing,
All right, so reading. Do you know what? Like, reading is my life. As a child, I did have a brother and a sister, but our age difference was whopping. Okay, my sister was 8 years older than us. My brother's 12. So they really weren't interested in weird little sister. And I shared a room with my sister as well. So it would be like, no, you're not coming to my room. I'm listening to Take That. And, you know, so I'd be like, kind of like, oh, loose end, what do I do? And I ended up, I would grab a book and a torch and sit in my mum's wardrobe.
We've all had that stage.
The child from the wardrobe.
Just sitting there on the shoe boxes. I used to make like a little speedo of the shoe boxes. Going to the library was one of my paramount memories as a child, and I really felt like just the excitement of, oh God, we're going to the library. oh, this is great. I can get these many books out. Oh, I'm allowed to go here. And I did feel like Matilda when I read Matilda, and I read how she just ate up all the books, and I was just like, oh God, yes. Oh, that is just, yes, I love it. But yeah, so books have always been a massive, massive love of mine, and it was only like inevitable that I would do my degree in books and that.
Oops.
Books and that. And then what do? You've gone from that, ended up teaching the books, which is even better. Just yeah, it was something that I look back on fondly, because sometimes it's just nice to pick up a book and fucking read it, and
Yeah.
that's it. But the analysis, the application of, Marxist theorem, feminist theorem, and it's just like, do you know what? The curtains are fucking blue because that's the curtains they had at C&A. All right,
Yeah.
that's the ones they had in Matalan. That
Yeah.
is what they had.
Yeah.
It's not because the writer is depressed or feeling this or feeling that. Just imagine, like like Virginia Woolf, just like, kind of like peering down on us lowly mortals, thinking, what? They thought I meant that? No.
I do think that sometimes when I think about like the older classics and like their authors, I think they're gonna think we're absolutely bonkers because
Yeah.
we said that about the book. No, it's because they were sat outside. That's why that was green,
Yeah.
or the wind was blowing that day. That's why we've got this or that. Sometimes we just think too hard into something instead of just enjoying the here and now.
Yeah, just read the book, enjoy it. And the thing is, I mean, whenever a book is written, it is a testament. It is a record of that time, of that particular
Yeah.
time. So of course it will, things in the 1920s would be, like the Great Depression. You've got that sort of, or the kind of expatriates, the disillusion from the First World War. Yes, fair enough, but
Yeah.
just bloody read it and just think, wow, when it meant that, prohibition, get the bathtub
Lose
in,
yourself in it.
Yes.
It's just it's your kind of key to a little bit of a holiday, really, a bit of a day out, like
Yeah.
it's a little escapism, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Escapism
what
without leaving the sofa.
It's cheap. Cheap.
exactly. Cheap, yeah, cheap date.
Cheap date.
Buy me a book, I'll be yours.
I would say my experience is very, very similar to yours in regards to books and stuff. I can remember my mum and dad on the weekend would take us to the library. My mum worked in a fruit and veg shop, so I knew that she was going to work and my dad was going to let us take us to the library. I remember us walking along the street and we get into the world's biggest library at the time. I thought it was absolutely huge. And I can remember being like so excited at the fact that I was allowed to read young adult books now. And
The
oh my
YAs.
god,
Oh god,
the
yes.
step from the teenage, from the kids one to the young adults. Oh my god, that was the best day of my life. The fact that I can now read the books that I'm behind me. I was finally allowed to read the Dragon Riders of Fern books, and I did have to steal my dad's copy of it. It was, I could get my own coffee. Get in.
Just made me think of reading your first point horror.
Oh yeah, you point horrors are up there.
Mine is somewhere down there. But yes, but the thing is, that's exactly the same. I can remember I was then allowed to get my own point horror. I didn't have to steal my cousin's point horror because she was old enough to read them. I wasn't, and no one would buy them for me, so I used to borrow hers.
Yeah, that's crazy. That, like, thinking about, you could only get like kids books on a kids ticket, because Huxley, he's really took on the sort of mantle of book lover from me. We've been going to the library since an early age, and he's absolutely adored books. His brother, on the other hand, eats the twats. But Huxley, yeah, he can only get because he wanted to get, like, I'm sure, like a graphic Star Wars graphic novel, but it was in the adult bit. But I don't think you're allowed that. And I think, wow, that's insane. Like your content is still policed and like it's a book. You know what I mean? Like, what harm can a book do? Well,
do you not think that how far libraries have come since our when we were young? Because you can't just get books in them now. You can get CDs, you can get games, you can get audiobooks, you can get graphic novels, I was absolutely amazed when I moved to Sunderland, because obviously I didn't have a library in Bristol before I left, because they closed libraries. I didn't really go to them.
Mhm.
I moved up here. Obviously, I had my tiny human, and I was like, right, we need to get you a library card because I can't keep up with your habit. Isidora Moon, I cannot keep up with your habit. And obviously we went to the library in Sunderland. It's not the biggest one. It's quite a small one in regards to the area. But I was
It
just
used to be a lot
surprised.
bigger.
Yeah,
Oh
and I
God, it
think
used to be floors and floors. There
I
was
think
floors.
it will be once they're at the Customs House.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
But Culture House, is it? Culture House?
Culture House.
Culture House.
Yeah, Culture
Yeah.
House.
I
Yeah.
think, and I was just amazed at the amount that you could get from there. But also, what I like is the fact that you can now get an app called Borrow Box, and you can download stuff on there. Yeah, I'm just absolutely amazed by the fact that you can do this. It's amazing. And as Kelly knows, because my child was telling her all about Borrow Box.
Oh yes.
When she came for a cup of tea of mine, my daughter was telling her all about the fact that she could get Adventure Time graphic novels on her Kindle. She was living her best life.
Yeah.
Absolute
Oh,
best life.
Borrow Box is great. I've just started to get Huxley into the kind of audio book sort of thing. He's been listening to the Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I'm currently
Yeah.
listening to Alan Rickman's Diaries, which I'm not enjoying
Mhm.
Okay.
because the literally, just like, oh, I did this, I did that. And then later on, he gets a little bit, so they weren't like, meant for publication. They're not like his diary. So he's just like,
Yeah.
oh, yes, we had a nice Merlot, and, which really complimented the lobster. And I'm just like, if anything, I just feel hungry. Just like, what? But no, Borrow Box is amazing. But you've just reminded me, another reason why I loved the library as a kid, we used to rent videos from the library and CD albums, and one of the first videos I've rented from the sound and vision bit in the library, it was 1992 Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That and I wasn't 15, and I was like, Mum, I like the look of that, and she was like, all right. I think I was about 9 at the time, because ages on bloody videos, no one looked at them, Christ. So the library's fault that I became such a Buffy nut.
Yeah. And I just think it's amazing that books that I read 25 years ago, because I feel that old today, it still affects me now, and I'm just utterly amazed.
Yeah.
But what is your favorite book?
Do you know what? I'm a person who has a book for each season. So like my melancholy season. I'm really happy. Let's like multiply my happiness with more happiness book. And but if I was to choose a book, it would be a book that's very close to my heart. One that is close to my heart and on my shelf. This, The Chronicles of Narmo by Caitlin Moran. This book has been thieved. It was a library book, as you can see.
Horror.
Yeah.
You little horror.
But yeah, so it was due back the 6th of October, 1993.
I dread to think what the fines are going to be on that.
Oh my
Do you know what? Let's not talk about it. Let's not talk about it. But the thing is, I wasn't the dirty twocker. It was my sister.
It's fine.
My sister was one of the librarians at the school she went to was Hilton Red House Comp. And what she would do, she would get books out, and I used to read them on the sly. Because it was just like, oh, school book out. It was a little bit of a rebellion. It was just like, yeah, I can read what my sister reads. And to be honest, that took me down a bit of a spiral when I was younger, because I read Andrew Neiderman's Pin. Have you heard of that book?
No.
Look into it. It's I shouldn't have read that when I was like 10. But aside from that, anyway, this book is absolutely amazing. I mean, you'll recognize her, Caitlin Moran.
Yeah.
She wrote this when she was 15. And it
Wow.
was and it was her first book, and it's about basically her family. So Chronicles of Narmo, Moran. She was taken out of school and homeschooled with her brothers and sisters, and it's basically a family's navigating of, right, we've took the kids out of school, what do we do now? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's absolutely hilarious. Like, I will pick it up and read it now, and literally tears running down my face.
Oh.
It's just it's absolutely lush and hilarious, and you can just see it in your mind's eye. If anyone wants to read it, please get it read. It's amazing. And I had the absolute honour of meeting Caitlin Moran, and she signed it.
Did she make a comment about it being a library book?
Well, the thing is, it was quite funny because when I was so like dumbstruck by her, because I adore her, from this book to the stuff that she's written, like kind of in the newspapers, kind of books that she's fiction and non-fiction. And when I actually met her, I was just like, I stood in a queue for an hour on my own waiting to meet her, and I was like, oh my god, what do I say? And she hugged us, and it was I think it was July, so Sterling would have been 5 months. My tits were like bricks, right? Breastfeeding. She hugged me, and it must have just felt like a wall because she jumped back. And I was like, sorry, it's my first night away, my first like kind of evening away from my child, and my tits are like bricks. And she was just like, oh, isn't it great when you have one of those comfort wanks? Just there's a picture of her, and we've just both got our boobs in a wanky sort of motion. And I was just like, oh my gosh, yes.
Someone gets you, Kelly. Someone gets you.
I was just like, this woman. And I was just like, right, I said, I've already got your book and you've signed the book because I bought it as part of the ticket. And I was like, but I want you to sign this. And a little bit of a lot of people know that my sister unfortunately passed away quite suddenly a few years back. And I said, if it wasn't for my sister introducing me to you at such a young age, it's something that I thank her for. And she was really taken by the whole story, and she wrote, Joanne and Kelly, the best sisters forever. Love you both, Caitlin Moran. And it's just like, this is just like my grail, my holy grail. Is a stolen book from the 90s from Hilton Red House Complex.
I love that though. That is just such your vibe.
Yeah.
I just love it, Kelly. That's just lush.
It's a wonderful story.
Yeah.
But no, get it read, because it's got at the bottom, was it Terry Pratchett? Oh God, this good already, and she's only 16. But it's absolutely fantastic, and it's one of those like Mars bar for the brains, you know what I mean? Like, just like it's easy to read. You could read it in one sitting, and you can be sad as fuck, and that would just cheer the hell out.
Yeah.
I'm actually typing books down that you've mentioned.
We are going to put in the comments the books that Kelly mentions, just so that you can see, because I think everyone should have a look, an insight into Kelly's.
Yeah.
Bloody hell. Have hallucinogenic drugs while you take.
What about you, Sarah? What's your favourite book?
Well, I found it quite hard because, like, for me, I've always been brought up with a love of books. My mum's a big reader. My dad wasn't so much so when I was little, but later in life he became like a more of a reader. So the room was always full of like bookshelves and stuff like that. And my mum used to get all the Reader's Digest ones, the posh ones with the like fake leather covers and stuff like that.
Now we're talking.
A bit like these behind me. So we used to have all of them in the. And my mum was a big reader of like true crime and horror books. She had all like the Stephen King and John Grisham's and stuff like that. But oddly enough, I started off my earliest memory of a book that I absolutely adored was Fantastic Mr. Fox. I remember I've had about 6 copies of this book because I've read it so much it's literally fallen apart in my hands. But I remember the first copy that I had, it was a purple cover, it was about this big. It was a purple cover and it had that famous Quentin Blake fox on the front, you know, the really scribbly one.
Mhm.
And oh God, bless that book, it literally fell apart.
I even love the
remember,
book.
I also remember about 20 years ago, I think it was Kellogg's cereal. Other cereals are available. Did this book giveaway where like you could see in the front of the box, there was a little
There was a
window and you
book.
could see what book you were getting for free
Uh-huh.
inside the box.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
searched for weeks to find Fantastic Mr. Fox because I knew it was on it. I knew it was on it and I needed a new copy. So I searched for weeks and I
I
finally
love
found it.
that.
And
Yeah,
that's the
because
copy that I still have today.
I've got the magic finger and it's got enough for resale, and that was out the freaking
Yeah.
Kellogg's. Bloody yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
I feel like I'm a bit common here. I don't remember this.
I remember books and cereals.
I
Jesus.
don't remember this.
Books and cereal. Who needs anything else when you're a kidder?
No, I don't remember this at all. My parents might correct me because they do sometimes watch this. So
But yeah,
you
I
know,
was but yeah, I even really liked the version of the story that they did recently with like George Clooney and Owen Wilson in, like the stop motion style one.
Yes.
We watched it really recently. I think it was like while we were putting the Christmas tree up because I was trying to get my 6-year-old into the story as well.
Mhm.
But my favorite book is I'm going with Spares by Michael Marshall Smith, which you can't really see, but it's an luminous orange cover. I've disappeared.
Yes.
And the story behind it is you can see the colour of it anyway there in front of me. Oxfam in Blandford Street, Sunderland used to be a mecca for secondhand books.
Oh yes.
And I used to spend many an afternoon in there trawling the shelves. And I noticed this luminous orange book
How could you not?
standing out from like all the other brown and black and greens on the shelf. And I thought, I'm picking that book up and I'm going to see what it is. And I thought, you know what? It sounds interesting. I'm going to buy it. It was like the best 99 pence I've spent or something. But yeah, it's it's like a sci-fi thriller thing. It's
Oh.
about the ultimate life insurance policy. You basically, if you're super rich, you can have a clone made of yourself, and the clones are kept like on special farms. And you know, if you have an accident where your arm gets lopped off, you just lop the arm off the clone and attach it to yourself. That kind of stuff.
Jesus.
serious.
I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting this at all.
Yeah. But yeah, that's why it's called Spares, because that's
Yeah,
what the clones were referred to as. But yeah, no, it's one of my favorite books. It's got flying malls and there's no longer cities. These malls fly around the sky and there's like apartments in there and tower blocks and stuff like that. They're huge things. And I mean the main guy in it, he's not really a good guy. He's just kind of got dragged into things like arse first through the hedge.
Best way.
But yeah, I couldn't even give you a proper reason why I like it. It was just so different to anything I'd read up to that point.
Yeah.
And I just really liked Michael's style of writing. So I must have read it in like a day
Really.
once I got it home. And I immediately went back like the next afternoon after I'd finished it to try and find the rest of them. And I found 3 more of the other books in equally bright covers.
Neon.
They're not all about the spares. It's like different stories. But
Yeah.
just a range of them all in that kind of style.
Oh, that's class.
Again, it was me and I loaned it to a friend and she loved the book as well. And then like a couple of months later, we kind of thought, hang on, look at that sign in Nautica's window. He's coming to Sunderland.
No.
He's coming to Sunderland to read his new book, to read bits from his new book. So me and her went storming into Nautica's going,
Storming.
Can we have tickets? Can we have tickets? And it's like, we got ticket 1 and 2. We got tickets 1 and 2. And but yeah, so it was one of those where you bought the ticket, but you got the couple of quid back off the book if you bought it on the day that you came back. So
Yeah.
we of course went and like I told him the story about how Oxfam brought him into my life. And it was
Like I love charity.
yeah. And
Oh,
yeah,
so
I'm happy to say he is still writing, and my bookshelves are filling up nicely with his work.
oh, I
Um,
want to check him out. I haven't heard of him.
I'm
that,
100%
I would
convinced
say
it's a
read
Netflix
spares.
series.
What?
I'm 100% convinced it's a Netflix series.
That there was I believe is it oh god I can't I've not actually seen the movie, but he did sell the rights to the story, but
Right, I'm
it was
looking.
at,
I'm
it
looking
was
because
at the time I think it was The Island came out.
no,
The
it's
Island.
it's the guy that plays Captain America now. Captain America.
Chris Evans.
Not Chris Evans, not the cute Chris Evans. The guy that's after him. Oh, what's his name?
I'm
Where's my?
lost.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's oh there's just some really random things because there's like flashbacks of this guy's life and stuff like that. And if you
You
ever
know what?
hear me say that fucking bush, that's what this book's from.
Thing is, I'm not into like I wouldn't say I was into a particular genre. I think if I was typecast, it would probably be horror. But I used to go to a book group, and I went for years and years. And what I loved about it was they got me reading books that I wouldn't have touched or picked up. So I love like functioning on like recommendations. You need to read this. You know what I mean? Secondhand books have just got that absolute thrall to us because it's like it's been read and owned by someone else. I know, and my cousin she hates like secondhand things because she's like another person's touch. Whereas I'm just like, wow, oh, where have you been? Like, you know, where have you been read? You know, I love it.
Yeah.
But no, I'll definitely check that. I had a feeling that my to be read shelf was going to like have more going into it tonight. So.
Yeah, I've had a look. Sorry, apologies. I've had a look, and the guy that's wrote the books that I'm thinking of is Richard K. Morgan, and it's called Altered Carbon.
Oh yeah, it's I've seen the Netflix show of Altered Carbon. It's a little bit different to that. It's not as straight body to body. Like it's kind of like a soul transference. Altered Carbon, really, isn't it? No, this is actual physical transference.
Nice.
Your organs.
Your organs, yeah. I mean, this guy, the main guy in the story. He starts off working on one of these farms where they keep the spares. You know, just making sure like they're fed and kept alive and stuff. And there's like some of the. I'm not going to go too far into the story if people are going to read it, but like things happen. He has to go off places, and he has this group of spares that he trails around with. And they're in various states.
Episode of Black Mirror.
Oh god, I know. They're in various states. I mean, one of them is literally just a head. One of them is literally just a head that he's carrying around.
That's hilarious. I definitely think I'm gonna have to read this book because it kind of feels like
it's not really strong on science fiction. I know some people are put off by science fiction side of things, but it's not really strong on it. It just so happens that it is set in the future, so obviously there are technology advances and things like that. So it can't really be avoided in that kind of situation.
Maybe this is how we make
more
a book
of a thriller.
Club. Yeah. This is how we make a proper book club.
Yeah.
If you want to join our book club and read this month, let us know.
Read spares.
Read our favourite books.
I think my favourite book is going to be different from what everyone thinks it's going to be, because everyone's going to expect me to pick Dragon Raiders of Bern or Point Horror or Night World. But I've got a book that is my comfort book, and it's The Other Boleyn Girl.
Yes.
And I have always had an obsession with the Tudors. I fell in love with the Tudors and just the whole thing around that crazy point in British history. And all of a sudden, I then discovered that Anne Boleyn had siblings, and I became a little bit fascinated with Mary Boleyn and the fact that she was a woman out of time. You know, she would have fitted in current times, no problem. But, you know, she was born 400 years ago. And I just absolutely love this book. I know she has taken absolute liberties with some of the storylines, but it is my comfort book. I have it in Audible and I have it in like obviously just normal style book. I can't remember what it was called then. I'm like paperback. That's it.
It's life. It's real. I can touch it and lick it.
Yeah, I own that one physically in my house. But yeah, I love the style of it. So I've got the rest of her books. You know, I've got quite a lot of
Is that Phillipa Gregory?
Yeah, I've got a lot of Phillipa Gregory books. I've got the whole collections. You know, when I worked on the cruise ships, you couldn't get hold of books very easily. So you used to swap books. You know, you used to swap books all the time. And Carrefour was the only place you could get a British book in the Mediterranean, and they were the only books available. So I bought the whole series one time in Palma, Mallorca, and they were my books for the next couple of weeks. So yeah, so Phillipa Gregory's books are slightly controversial because she does take absolute liberties with some points. But this book is just my safety comfort book. If I feel sad, I'm gonna read a little bit of it. I'm gonna listen to a little bit before I fall to bed. You know, I'm gonna dip in and out. It is very much one of those books that you can just dip in and out of, and you do not need to read it straight away. You don't need to read it every page, every single night till you finished it. You don't need to do that. Yeah, so Other Belingo is just one of my favorites.
I
like
love the
the
fact
idea
that
of
it
things
was
like that.
Yeah. I love history being accessible as well.
I'm a big believer in history being accessible.
I mean, come on, how much of, like, say, you know, Winston Churchill's life is really in the history books? You can like only imagine like what else he got up to during his life and stuff like that.
Could you imagine?
I mean,
Could you imagine?
Mary Boleyn as well, you know, what else could she have got up to in the time that she was around?
Yeah, and
I like it when authors kind of can when authors can like do that. And I mean, I've never read that one myself, but like, is the story feasible? Would you say?
Yeah,
it takes liberties, yes, with the truth, but feasibility wise,
100%. She has done research. She is like noted where the woman, where Mary was at certain events. But it's very difficult with history because history is always wrote by men, and I don't mean this negativity. It is wrote by men. Women are not mentioned. For example, we don't know which order the Boleyn siblings are born in, really, because the only ones that are mentioned was the firstborn, Thomas Boleyn.
The boys were more important,
and nothing was mentioned after that. We only know that Mary Boleyn existed because of how controversial Anne Boleyn's life became. You know, and the fact that she became Queen of England. That's the only reason we actually know this character existed. You know, so many women are lost to history, and I love the fact that we get to know Mary Boleyn through these stories. And yes, she was a controversial character in her life, but she's my type of woman. We would not look down on her if she was born now. You know, I love that about her. I love the fact that she is the party girl of the Tudor court.
Yeah,
it's my kind of woman.
Class. Oh, love it. Absolutely love it.
Do you want to do another favourite book now, or shall we move on to our new feature? And then we can maybe do you want to briefly... Have you got another book that you want to talk about briefly first?
Can I just show you something? That book.
Yeah.
Because you've kind of like with the Kellogg's things, the books that you get free and that. I've got something that probably might be a nest egg for my children.
I'm intrigued.
All right.
Me
Give
too.
us a minute. Right. These books were Do you remember when Shout used to do the spooky stories?
Yes! Yes! This is how I got to point horror.
Remember the one with the Ouija board?
Oh my goodness.
Oh, geez, Kelly, that's a blast.
Past. Yeah.
And the fact that they are well preserved, that gal.
Yeah.
They're
so
really well preserved.
I mean, look how big the print was.
I know.
Like, 6-year-olds would be reading this shit. I remember, right, because me mate, I used to go to a very Catholic school, a very Catholic primary school, and I remember we all used to buy Shout magazine, and I remember we would God. We're in Nicky Gardiner's garage, and we were trying to do light as a feather, stiff as a board.
Oh,
And we're all eating Nutella out the jar. Everyone's putting their hands in, and then just
not even
covered
one
in
of those little
hazelnut
pots that
bread.
you used to get the spoon with.
Do you know what? I used to love getting the little pots from Harvey's. I used to buy it and I used to eat it on the way to school. And I loved how in winter it was like literally solid chocolate.
You could just go.
But in summer it was like runny, eating Nutella via the seasons, and like, oh yes, you can tell it's cold. But
that is amazing that you've got those.
So, and I loved these, and because when I was a kid, I loved fucking ghosts and shit. You know what I mean? But it was one of those kind of, I love it and I hate it. Like, I used to scare myself.
Right.
I remember,
Ghosts still
yeah.
scare me now. We all know, after my little ghost experience yesterday at work, we know that I'm scared of ghosts, you know.
Yeah, I used to have nightmares of her and the Hunter because I read a story about him, because I'm sure I saw his shadow in my room, and this was when I was about 7. You know, I'm reading about, basically I read stuff that I shouldn't have read, but these just fueled my pash, which ended up, you know, kind of, I used to get the point horrors. I used to get a cheap man's goosebumps called Shivers.
Yep.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, because I remember me and my mum used to go shopping at Tesco's, and was it the Works? No, it was a different bookshop, but it's very similar to the Works.
Yeah.
It was like a discount bookshop that was next to Electronics Boutique.
Oh,
Tesco's. You know where I'm at, the bridges.
I know where you are.
You know where I am. And so it was these Shivers, and I remember I would be like kind of like looking over, and my mum's just like, "Oh, do you want to have a look at the?" Do you know what? She wants to be thankful that I haven't got like a serious drug addiction, and my addiction is
100%.
books. You know what I mean? It was just like,
I'm there with you.
Can I have a book? And she's like, "Oh, well, the Shiver books were like £1," and she'd be like, "Oh, go on then." I'd be like, "Oh,
we were easily pleased when we were kids, weren't we? We were easily pleased. But do you know something? My mum still does this to now. So if she sees like books that she knows that I would like, or what my little girl would like in the charity shop, she gets them. Like, I can remember for one birthday, I think I must have been about 19, or I was either 19 or 17, I can't remember, but my mum must have bought me about £30 worth of charity shop Star Trek books. And I can remember being absolutely over the moon because I had these books, and I just even now, the thought of someone buying me a book, I'll be like,
oh God, yes. oh, the amount of books I've bought for people, like men that I was trying to get in the pants of, you know, and like trying to woo them with me books, you know what I mean? Like,
I love that.
Oh my word.
No, I love that. I love the fact that you tried that. It's obviously worked. Eventually.
I don't think I would Adam with me books. Oh my word! But yeah, oh my God, oh that's class.
So yes, we have a bit of a new feature, don't we, Sarah? Because when we have guests on now, because it's just a duo. Sometimes we need a third person in our little groupie, and we have decided that instead of just doing the same questions over and over, we are going to pick questions for the subject, and then we're going to let the dice decide what the questions are.
Fate. Yes.
Sometimes we've asked Kelly if she wants to know what the questions are, so she has a bit of a preempt and a bit of a warm up. She said no, she just wants to go straight in.
Going in blind.
She's going blind.
Blind and dry.
Sarah has the dices. I have the questions.
There's 8 questions still, yes?
Yes, there is 8 questions. I haven't changed anything.
That's all right. I was just double checking. I have in my hands several D8s. To make things completely random, Kelly's going to choose one of the D8s and I'm going to roll it.
Yeah.
So we've got Git Was Green one.
I like big Was Green. Greedy, I call them.
We've got a clear pink sparkle one.
Oh, like rose quartz.
We've got a black rainbow glitter one.
Oh, you got us with glitter. Rainbow glitter.
We've got red and black.
Oh, nice.
Nice. We have this one, which has it's a clear one with a bit of blue in it, but it has an axe inside.
Yes.
And then we've got metal green and silver one.
Right. I'm going to go with big wasp green.
Big wasp green.
You like that one, don't you, Pat? You like that one.
I like that one.
Right,
I like
here we
green.
go then. I haven't got the camera angled right, so you're gonna have to trust with what
We'll trust you, Sarah.
The first one's a 4.
4.
2, 3. Okay, this is a good one. With being an English teacher, do you think that affected your preferences in choices of books?
Do you know what? No, not at all. I remember covering books as a student, and I will say one thing. One book I was sworn off because I had to teach it, and I had a bad experience as a student with it, and it was Ian McEwan's Enduring Love. I got a fucking C in it. I hated that book. I hated that book with a pashmina. Absolutely. And he got like I can see the front cover and it's just making us angry. That fucking balloon, it's like a gold front cover, and I'm like, fucking balloon, the fucking Jed Parry. And and it just I thought I got it, and I just couldn't like get it across, you know what I mean? And I resat the exam like 3 times, and I was just so frustrated. Couldn't get higher than a fucking C, and I was just like, what? I was getting like A's for bloody Wordsworth, you know. Now I am free and franchised and at large, you know. It's just like, yes, great. And this shitty, you know, contemporary novel is getting the better of us. Ironically, I love Ian McEwan. On Chesil Beach. Atonement. So that absolute bunion of a book has not coloured like the distaste. In regards to teaching, I had the absolute pleasure of teaching one of my most favourite books. I used to be so crazy on the 1920s jazz era. My dissertation was the presentation of heterosexual relationships in F. Scott Fitzgerald's works. I read it all. Looking about, you know, kind of from the Victorian era, how, you know, it went from kind of, you know, really stable family values to just absolute debauchery. Why, you know, and like, and how it was depicted, and stuff. And I got to teach The Great Gatsby, and I was just like, yes, yes. But it is a book that now fucking happens.
Why they made it a film, I have got no idea.
Do you know what? I actually went to see it dressed in pearls and like in a turban. And I just sat and basked in Baz Luhrmann's hedonistic glow, and that was exactly because I always, as a teacher, you would it was a good way of like hiding in the corner for an hour and having a snooze. I will put the film on. It's a critical interpretation. Stick The Great Gatsby on. But I used to hate Robert Redford's Great Gatsby. He was too fucking cool. He was too like, oh, I'm so amazing. Gatsby's got a nervous energy. This fucker's gonna get found out. He is not a rich man, and you can't hide that.
No,
you know, he's going to get found out. He knows he's going to get found out. Robert Redford was too fucking cool. Leonardo DiCaprio, can't believe he didn't get Oscar for that shit.
Wow,
Because he was
yeah.
mint.
Yeah.
He had that nervous energy, he had that tragic air. It was mwah, shucks, cuss. But what I loved about it was teaching. Kids would be like, "Oh God, this book, it's so boring. Who chose this?" And I'd be like, "Right, okay, put a different pair of eyes in. Look at it from a different angle. Tell you what, turn around a few times, look at it dizzy. Try it from a different perspective." And they would say, "Kelly, I can't believe you like this shit book. There's nought that happens in it." And I'm like, "Yes, but," and then I'll, wax lyrical about the bleak valley of ashes and how it alludes to it. And they're just like, "Oh my God. Actually, yeah, I get why." Yeah, and I said, "You know what? Reading, yeah, you can say you hate it. Fair enough. Give it a chance.
You've got to give it a chance.
Give it a chance." And the thing is, especially if doing a freaking exam on it, you may as well pretend to like it or enjoy it. I always used to try and put it across in a way that they'd remember it. So making it funny that Great Gatsby's found was it an I think was it the quote is oh God, an accidental burden on a lilo, and I'm like, "You just said deed man's on a lilo, here, mate." It's just like it's just the way it's like put across. It's just like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, I love it. But yeah, my teaching has not in any way, shape, or form informed my books. If anything, my twisted, morbid little brain has done that for me anyway. And everything else is just a bonus. I'm
Yeah.
as I say, I'm honoured that I've taught Margaret Atwood's Handmaid's Tale. What a book to teach, you know what I
Amazing
mean?
book.
Mhm.
Cracking. Angela Carter's The Bloody Chamber,
Mm.
just putting that across, and especially because the C bombs in there, so it's like, "Oh, Kelly's got to see the C bomb."
I can imagine that was a good lesson.
That'll go down in history. But yeah, as I say, if anything, I've just been honoured to have been able to teach certain texts, and kind of hopefully maybe still be kicking around in my my students' memory of how I've taught it. So.
I really like that. I really like how
I
you
like
put
that, and I
that.
hope that you are kicking around in their heads too.
Just like, mind you, I have there was a girl who messaged because it was that like, "Oh, when you leave college, you're like, oh, well, add Kelly on Facebook." And I'm like, "I will stay in touch, it'll be nice." I created I used to teach English language. Quite funny how I ended up teaching that. They were like, "Oh yeah, we don't have an English language teacher." And I'm like, "Okay, I teach literature." Like, "Oh, it's English."
No,
And I
no,
was
it's
like,
not.
"Yeah, yeah, it's not." They gave me a CD-ROM of resources, and they basically used me
Oh.
as free labour, and I taught English language. It could have went hideously wrong.
Mhm.
It
100%.
didn't. I actually created a resource called the Grammar Bible, where it actually helped me learn grammar as well as them.
Can
And
I have a copy of that?
I'm sure it's on a memory stick somewhere. I just remember like the way I used to teach nouns, concrete nouns, things you can kick. So table, chair, baby.
Oh, don't kick the baby.
I was like kicking babies. And was it abstract nouns? Things you can kick with your mind, like the government. I know it's there. I see it. I'm aware of it. Plague.
I'm
Yes.
liking how this is working.
Yes, I very much need this resource. I'm struggling with language and English.
Oh, seriously, was it? I did sentence types as oh no, this is an outdated resource. Destiny's Child for sentence types. So simple sentence. Beyonce, 'cause she stands alone. she doesn't need her Destiny's Child with her. You know what I mean? So it's just like, so as a simple sentence would be, I went to the shop. Yes, that can all exist alone, like Beyonce, because she's bootylicious. Yeah. And then we would like talk about, because obviously it was Beyonce, Kelly, and the other one was the
Michelle.
subordinate clause. Everyone can't exist on her own, but Kelly and Michelle managed to go their separate ways and exist as entities.
Love it. This is hilarious.
Oh God.
Yes, I kind of wish I was one of your shooters, because this was absolutely epic.
It was, yeah. I did use current affairs quite a lot. There was that time when Suarez bit someone.
Yeah.
A footballer.
Yeah.
I used that to depict active and passive voice. So active voice, Suarez bit the opposition. If you went to a court of law, he'd be fucked. You know what I mean? But if you wrote it in passive voice, you like switch it up. The opposition was bitten by Suarez. You can just get rid of the Suarez, so the opposition was bitten. It's like, who did it? Who did it? Suarez jumps away scot-free with his massive teeth. To think I used to mould young minds. Fuck me.
Absolutely fine. Let's go for the next question.
Right. You still want big wasp, or do you want one of the other
I
ones?
want little green. Let's keep with the green.
Our metals. Right, here we go.
Little green.
Wait. That is what number is that? 3.
3?
1, 2, 3. Which characters within books have had the biggest impact on you?
Oh God, characters. I'm going to name drop the Great Gatsby again and go with Daisy Buchanan, who comes across as an absolute, just an intolerable woman, who just, she's got nothing about her. She's all about artifice. But do you know what? She says this absolutely gorgeous quote, and I think about it to this day. And it's about was it when she realized when she gave birth to a girl, and she cried, and she was just like, well, I hope she'll be a beautiful little fool, because that's the only way women got ahead back then. So the fact that she is aware of that, she mourns the fact that she's given birth to a girl, because she knows the world's a terrible place for women, and to be honest, still bloody is. I remember finding out that I was having boys, and I was like, fuck that. You know what I mean? And it's just it's unfortunate that it's that is how, like, it's still kind of is. But the fact that she's got her head screwed on, and she's just like, right, if you can't beat the system, manipulate it. Be that beautiful little fool. Do you know what? Yeah, I might not be happy, but I'm being looked after. I've got the money. I'm safe. If I wasn't safe, where would I be? And that idea that it's not all about love, and it reminds me a little bit of was it Pride and Prejudice? When all of the Bennett girls were getting matched up and shit. You know what I mean? It's not about love. It's survival. You know what I mean? I wish it could just be about love.
This is what Mrs. Bennett was on about. She was like, well, they all need to match him because we don't have a son, so they need to be looked after.
And do you know what, Mrs. Bennett? She's a really freaking good character. She really is. Do you know what? We covered Pride and Prejudice at St Anthony's school, and do you know what? I've got really fond memories of watching the TV serialization as a critical viewpoint to mention in the exam, because I remember the teacher was Mrs. Welsh. Do you remember her teacher?
Yes, I remember.
And she's like, just remember, ladies, this doesn't happen in the book, and it's the bit where Mr. Darcy goes in the lake. Oh, fuck me. You can tell we're an all-girls school at that point. We're salivating. But no, Mrs. Bennett, in that particular version, as it were, is just absolutely hilarious and just memorable mother, and she just wants the best for her bands, you know what I mean? And it's just like, and you know, it's like deep down inside, she was like, why couldn't I have had a boy? Damn it! Damn it, my inability to bear sons.
It's always the way, isn't it?
Oh God. I don't know. I think with characters, like, it's difficult for me to just get a person. Like, I think of the whole. It's with me. It's like it's the whole microcosm. It's the whole universe. It's the whole society within that book. It's so difficult to, like, because now all these like characters are like running rampant in my brain. I'm just like, no, get back in the recesses of the brain.
I was trying to think of, because originally when we were thinking of how we were going to do this podcast, this was one of our questions that we were all going to answer and everything. And I was like, I cannot pick one. I have got too many characters running around. I've got, you know, I can't control them. If I try and pick, one of them is going to take over. I am going to become that character, because some of them have been in my head for 30 years. You know, I'm a bit concerned. But yes, I think it's really interesting when you try and pick one character, because I'm impressed that you did it. I am impressed. Narrow it down. Even though you I think you've got a sly one. You've also got Mrs. Bennett in there as well.
Yeah,
we'll allow it.
I'm impressed that you managed to narrow it down, because I couldn't.
Yeah, I think especially because I've just been talking about, you know, like teaching the Great Gatsby and stuff. But it was just, it's one of those things where, like, people would say as a characterization, like, she's shit, there's nothing to her, and I'm like, no. She's wily, and do you know what? Good on her. She's making sure she's surviving, and unfortunately, a lot of people had to kind of like think that way then, and to be honest, sometimes now. So
unfortunately, it's not changed much, and it's only rolling back.
Yep.
Should we go for the third question?
One more. Which dice do you want? Do you want the same?
The one with the axe in. The one with the axe.
The one with the axe in. And we have a 6.
Oh.
Oh, this is a good one, actually. Do you prefer physical books, ebooks, or audiobooks, or graphic novels?
Right. I remember when the whole Kindle thing came out, I was fucking mortified. You won't catch me with a Kindle. Yeah, right, pet. I don't know. I think it's because we're that generation where we've kind of had like technology and then all the technology, so we're well versed in both.
Yeah.
So I was brought up, you know, revering the written word, knowing the value of books and respecting them and whatnot. And then kind of, you know, appreciating the artwork, the blurb, and, you know, just the feel of the paper under your fingers, man.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and that fucking, when you accidentally pull the and you fucking crack the twat, and you're like, shit. But then, waft the book in my face. I love it. I found Kindles like a little bit, what's the word? Just hollow, should we say?
Right,
But I did go against my grain 11 years ago. My friend gave me her Kindle because she didn't use it. And I was just like, well, I'll give it a good home. Had Game of Thrones on it. I have read all of the Game of Thrones on ebook. Because I thought I hadn't got a shelf for these fat bad boys. No.
Would you have read them without that?
Do you know what? I would have struggled.
I did struggle.
I don't know. Do you know what? Thick books don't deter me, but the fact that I knew it was a thick book followed by a thick book followed by a thick book,
and then you don't get answers because it's not ended.
Yeah, so I thought, so that's how I got into the Kindle. It still kind of boiled down to if it was a book I loved or a book that I was looking forward to, I prefer to have it display. Okay.
Trophy.
Yeah, there's certain books. I absolutely love the illustrations of Chris Riddell, the guy
Right.
who did the Phoenix Window quite
Mhm.
recently. He's done books, Goth Girl and Outline, and I've got all those with a, and they just look absolutely
Yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, like the spines, and they've got the little, the little ribbony bits. And I just
Mhm.
I need like real of
Pretty
that.
pretties.
Yeah. However, so what I tend to do, so like Kindle stuff, is like stuff you Kindle, cheap books. I read a Lucy Nichol book. She's a local author. I think she's from Hull, but she lives up north. She writes about like Britpop, like life in the Britpop days and stuff, which I absolutely love. And I got
yeah.
to meet her. She's fab. And her book was like 50 pence or something. I was like,
We'll have
Yeah.
that.
you know what I mean? So I use my Kindle more for that, and also, oh my god, I managed to locate all of the Animorph books.
I want them.
Oh shit, like she's just combusted. Right, Becca, fucking hold me to this, right? I love the Animorph books, and you'd flick it, and the person would turn into the animal. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So, a memory of mine, me and my mum used to go to Ireland a lot. My great uncle lived there. That like my family are Irish, like from my
Mhm.
mum's side, and we went over and looked after him because he got gangrene in his leg and had to have
Oh,
it
bless
ripped
him.
off. So we kind of helped look after him and whatnot, and got his house all modernised for him to pop his fucking clogs. But anyway, aside from that, my mum used to buy me like books for the plane. Everything was punctuated with a book.
Yeah.
And Animorphs remind me of Ireland because I would be armed with one. There was a shop, the most beautiful bookshop, where it had like stairs going round, and it was just so
Oh,
big. Oh, that place. Yeah, and she would get us another one. And there was always like a kind of a bargain though. Don't buy your nails for a week, and I'll buy you one. I'm like,
Yeah.
I love that bargain. I love that.
and I think I think I got to the double figures
Okay.
of buying them. Do you know how many they are?
No, I don't.
60.
Never.
I'm sure there is. I don't
Didn't
hold
Right.
me
know
to
that.
that. I
I
have
might have
got
to.
them on my phone.
I might
I
have to find.
found them. I found them online because I remember. See, was it BBC brought
The series.
the series,
Oh,
and I couldn't watch it because they didn't look how I saw them in my
yeah.
mind,
Yeah.
and I was like,
Yeah.
nah, it just didn't work. It just didn't work because,
Yeah.
and I'm rereading them, and I'm on to number 6,
Okay.
and yeah, I've got them all on my phone. So
I hope it is it a complete story. I hope it's a complete story. I hope it's just like the 90s and some of the storylines that we got back then, that all of a sudden you just stop. Do we get closure?
I don't know. And
Oh
that's what
no.
I'm hoping for because when I realised there was that many books, I thought, hey, you fucker, I'm glad I stopped collecting.
Oh no. I don't
I
I don't
got
know if
two double figures.
I
I
don't
got a
know if
double
I
figures.
don't know if I can commit to this now.
Well, do you know what? This is how I'm trying to navigate my reading at the moment. So at the moment, I've got an audio book, which is Alan Rickman's
Mhm.
memoirs sort of thing. So I'm listening to that. I've got 19 hours left of that. The previous audio book I listened to, because there's certain books that you need to like hear,
Yeah.
I believe. Like so, borrowed on Borrow Box, Berserker by Adrian Edmondson.
Mm.
Amazing, amazing, because he reads it. So the fact that
Oh, that's even better.
it's a fucking lush, absolutely beautiful, love it. But so I have kind of like an audio book on the go, a Kindle book on the go, and an actual book on the go. So I've got like a bit of a triumvirate
You
going
have
on, you know.
the book triad.
So I'm currently reading on my Kindle. Was it number 6 of the Animorph books, The Predator, I think it's called. I'm currently reading uh, 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 The Writer's Handbook.
Okay.
But it's the Women Writers Handbook. This came out during COVID, and it was to raise funds for a Virginia Woolf statue, which now exists. So they did well. They did well. But what's lovely about this is it's not just like writing, books. It's writing scripts. It's people who've written scripts, and especially because like I've started like looking into comedy, writing comedy as well. You know what I mean? So, and it's just like, and how difficult it can be for a woman to, get into that circle.
It is, and it kind of, it's why a lot of authors, female authors, go by their initials, because you can't tell. You can't tell if they're male or female.
Yeah. I mean, you've got like from back in the day, George Eliot, Middlemarch is one. Do you know what? Fuck me, that book is epic. That is a microcosm of life, you know what I mean? And the fact that a friggin' woman wrote it, and I'll just call myself George. Just like just to be taken seriously. It's just like, you know what I mean? It's insane. But yeah, and it's just like, and what's so lovely is reading like because it's interviews, it's short stories, it's poetry. It's just like it's a little bit of everything, and I feel like my soul feels enriched by reading what they've experienced. And because I mean, what was it? There was a fantastic, lovely Carol Ann Duffy poem in there, and I was just like, friggin' hell, Carol Ann Duffy, love her because she did a poem in the shape of a shoe. About a shoe. Loved it. I thought, yeah, Mrs. Class. She did like a range of shoes in the shape of shoes.
Amazing.
Just amazing. Just fantastic. And and it gives us a lot of hope a little bit, you know what I mean? You can even though you've been, disgraced with a set of ovaries, you still, get ahead in life, you know what I mean?
Very
And
much.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It's why some of my favorite, I feel like I very much, a lot of my books, my favorite books, are done by female authors, and I think that's because of that. I've got Anne McCaffrey, I've got phillipa Gregory, all of those, they're kind of female authors, and I think that 100% why I kind of
bit of solidarity as well. You know what I mean? Oh, totally.
Yes.
Oh.
But yeah. So is there any other book that you think anyone should read?
Right. I think the stuff that we've spoke about is great. I'm not a sort of person who would I think you don't choose the book chooses you.
Okay.
Because I'm terrible when I go to the doctors, right? Because they've got this like bookshelf thing, and I'm like, oh, look at the books, see what books are there. And this shelf is literally this whole shelf here, and that up there are my to be reads. So that's stuff I've bought with the intention to read. Okay.
Mine's very similar.
Yeah, it's pissing me off. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's still stuff on the shelves that I haven't read, but these are the ones where I'm like, this year, this is going to be your year.
You need to list them. You need to put them in the book group, and then you need to mark it off when you've done it. Yes.
Because I did actually have the opportunity. It was about 8 years ago. Do you know those stupid chain letter things where you add your address and they say you get a book and that? I actually got about 12.
Okay.
All right.
So where this chain letter, and I know a lot of
that pyramid scheme worked for you then.
Fuck me, it did. Yes. And I've still not read some of the books. Because some was it like some of my friends who were part of the nerdy up there, and also was it Fiona and Charlotte? They like sent me like, because the way it worked, like I'm terrible with like kind of like flow charts and stuff. I can't grasp like numbers. Numbers. I look at them and I'm like, what are you? You're not a word. I don't like it. But what you had to do was just kind of like put your address at the bottom, and the more people you share it to, the more books you would get, but you would only send one.
Yeah. It's a
And I
pyramid
ended
scheme.
up getting like, in it, I was getting books sent to us via Amazon on a Sunday. Someone sent us Wuthering Heights. I thought, fucking hell, this is great. Someone sent us Ian McEwan's On Chesil Beach. Basically, people were sending me their favourite books with like a little note in. So I've got about 7 books. So I've got The Pelican Brief and The Firm. That was one of the books
That's
someone sent me.
amazing.
Futuristic Violence and Fancy Suits. That's another book someone sent me. So like I'm trying to like get the backlog. But what I would advise you do, right? And I think this is wholesome for the soul. Read something that really fucking pisses you off, right?
Mm.
Really, because last year for me was the year of Twilight. I couldn't put it off any longer.
I was impressed. I followed your journey.
I'm still halfway through the journey. I've got
I
2
know.
books left.
I
I've got
know,
2 books left.
but you started. You started. And you did the first book.
I did 3. I've got the other bloody 2
Oh,
sitting on the freaking
okay.
shelf.
Yes, yeah, I can see Breaking Dawn
I
there.
can see one.
Yeah, and that little skinny one. That skinny one.
Bree, the life of Bree Tanner.
Right.
Can
Anyway,
you tell
so,
that I'm a fan?
well, maybe a smidge. Do you know what? The vampires were my sack with like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But my vampires were Lost Boy vampires. My vampires weren't covered in Collection 2000 nail varnish.
Yeah, not sparkly hair.
Yeah, when it's baggy, no, it's baggy. But do you know what? There's something quite liberating about reading a book is so fucking bad. Like you get a little bit of a
I felt
like
that when I read the 50 Shades of Grey series.
Right. Yes.
And that's because that started as Twilight fanfics.
I read that. Do you know what? I worked in the
dear.
Londonderry, which is now the Peacock, much better
Yeah.
establishment now. And I remember standing outside having a tab, and hearing these women talk about 50 Shades of Grey. And how fucking Mr. Grey's like, oh, I'd be fucking great to bet him. I'd fucking love to get with someone like Mr. Grey. And I stood there and I was over the moon. I was like, you are getting scum of the fucking earth to read. Reading is for everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone should read. And the fact that, to be honest, I can't attack a book unless I've read it. I can't say, oh, well, shit. Well, no, I need to read it. I need to read it before I'm able to say, right, okay, this is why it is shit. So I did read all of the 50 Shades of Grey, except I didn't finish the last book because in my mind, they all die in a horrific helicopter.
Okay, I won't spoil that for you. That is how it happens. I will agree with you.
Thank you. But yeah, it was. Do you know what? It felt like reading Polly Parrot. It was the same sexes.
Oh my goodness. Oh no. Oh my goddess.
Oh, and do you know what really fucked me off? The bit where he gives her. She wants to go topless. Here, pet, I'm with you. You want an even tan. You didn't want any freaking lines and that. She's like, oh, I'll just lie on my belly and I do the back. And she's having like some sordid, daydream about him. And she rolls over and her breasts are, there, like, in front of the sun. And he sees and he's angry. And what he does, he love bites her.
Yeah.
So, and I just think, do you know what? That's sick. That's you maiming someone to show your power over them.
Yeah.
And if kids, and the thing is, kids did read it and
100%.
like idolize it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, they think that is acceptable.
Yeah. And this actually kind of really leads into my last kind of point. Book talk. Right. So these stories that are happening that we're talking about 50 Shades of Grey and how that story ends. I actually think 50 Shades of Grey is worse than some of the stories that are coming out of Book Talk.
I avoid book talk like the plague.
I find it a really interesting place, and the obsession over some of the book series is amazing.
I'm scared. Do you know what? I think it's one of those things where I was kind of like, some of my mates do Snapchat and I don't. But I tried, and I thought, you know what? This is a spiral I'm going to get caught in, and I'm not going to get out. So I'll tell
No.
you what, I'm not going to go in it to begin with.
Yeah,
So I
it's safer.
kind of
I like book talk for the fact that it has introduced me to some really interesting stories, like Fourth Wing. I would not have read Fourth Wing if there was not a cultural phenomenon on book talk. I would not have read it. I am loyal to these guys. I am loyal to Todd McCaffrey. I'm loyal to his mum. You know, these are my dragon riders. But Xaden, I would totally cross that parapet for him. Yeah, there we go. And I want a little Ardana dragon. I want Ardana. You know, the little gold dragon from it. I want her because she is such a sassy little thing. Look, I've even got some little Fourth Wing stickers. I want the little Ardana. I want her.
Do you know what? I can't like badmouth something that like I haven't like. I'm the sort of person where if something like that is introduced to me, it will become my life, but in a bad way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I will become hyper fixated on it, and the rest of my life will go to shit. So I kind of. I can see things that like I think, oh yes, I could really invest myself in that. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
not.
no.
just for my own sanity.
Because I'm not gonna lie, Dragon Riders has become my whole personality. You know, I've got a writing community. I've got a writing community from this freaking book that I read when I was about 9 years old. That I've had since. Well, I've had this community 18 years. 18 years I've had this community. What about you, Sarah? Do you have any books that have become your personality?
Oh, well, Chris is gonna love this. This isn't the book that I was originally going to talk about at this point. But if you're talking about personality, I think there's only really one way I can go. Dragon Age.
100%. It was gonna have to be, wasn't it?
I'm wearing a Dragon Age t-shirt right now.
Absolutely love it.
I have one of the like I've got like, oh, you can't see it, man. I've got like one of the proper novels here. It's like, look at the size of the writing. It's tiny and it's huge. And then there's like all the graphic novels and stuff like that. And
that's a pit you're never going to get out of.
Aside from like the hundreds of hours I have plowed into those games, I have read like everything. So I would say if you're asking for personality, it's the Dragon Age novels.
That's fine. That's 100% fine. I love it.
I did want to shout out another book. I did have because I find, me personally, I find it really rare that a book actually makes me sit there and like basically pee myself laughing.
Okay.
I find it really rare that I get to that point. I'll read a book and then I go, oh, that was quite amusing. Or oh, that was a really good story. I was really interested, invested in like the outcome and stuff like that. But one of my favorite books, it's kind of like, it's a book that I go to take a break from the crap of the outside world, from the seriousness of some stuff. Like if I have a spate of serious books, I will reread this book for a break. I'm not an autobiography person. I'm not a big fan of them. Graham Chapman's autobiography is the funniest book I have ever read.
Love it. That is not what I expected.
This is the kind of book you can pick up for 10 pence on secondhand stores.
Aye.
I'm a massive Monty Python fan, and you know, it's an autobiography. I'll say this: it's an autobiography, but it's got 4 co-authors. This is the this is just kind of like an inside look into the madness that was the brain of Graham Chapman.
Yeah.
I mean, you know that the stories in here are based on truth, but you do not know how far the story is true.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like he'll stop halfway through a chapter and he's telling you about like how he was studying it at like Eton or something like that, right? Or he went to Eton for a bit. And he'll stop halfway through the chapter and go into a story about Biggles, the pilot. And then he'll stop again and he'll carry on a different story. And then, like, about 100 pages later, he'll suddenly stop in the middle of a chapter and you'll get the rest of the story about Biggles.
Oh, God, my head would be like,
oh, I mean, there's stories in here about how they came to name Monty Python Monty Python.
class.
And basically, he says that Terry Jones is just a series of letters. It's not even comprehensible words because it's just kind of like makes lots of Welsh noises. I'm gonna have to take my glasses off. I'm short-sighted. Right. This is an example of one of the pages. I was born in Leamington, now officially known as Royal Leamington Spa. Goes on about what year he was born, blah blah blah. See footnote 1. None of this is true. I was in fact born in Stalbridge in Dorset on this time, on this date. See footnote 4. Footnote 4, complete rubbish. I was not born in Dorset. My current co-author was. And there's like notes like this on some of the pages, and I'm just kind of like, not all the pages, Kelly, don't worry.
Oh, God.
Don't worry, Kelly, not all of them.
The emotional damage that me and Kelly have just gone through just from that.
Do you know what?
The thing is, it does make sense once you've read a certain amount of the book. You get
That's the sort of book I think
my
my husband would love, because you know what? I'm part of the I don't get Monty Python. I've tried to get it.
No,
don't get it.
No.
Don't get it. Don't get it. But I can see, like, you know, why things are. I like the funny walk. And the wafer thin mince.
Wafer thin mince.
That's fucking terrible, that. But that's wafer thin. But not me husband would absolutely. Because the thing is, he's not a reader. Like, you couldn't get like a yang to a yin, you know what I mean? He is totally different to me in every which way of the word. And like, I've tried to kind of, like, you know, I think he did read The Great Gatsby and was just like, yeah, I read it. Just like,
he might like that
that's
one.
good. But no, one of our mutual favorite books is The Wasp Factory. Which is I mean, it's been a while since I've like read it, but it is a particularly bleak, you know, sort of book. But it's something that I think is quite nice that we do have, like, a kind of, we've read a book and we've enjoyed it, and it, because I don't know, I just feel like books bond people, you know what I mean? You might not be like kind of the same, you know, temperament or personality, but when you've read a book and you find that person who just gets it the way you get it, you know, that's a rarity, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, I think that's just because was it my husband, he likes what's his name, oh God, that bloke who does the poetry, Spike Milligan. He loves he's one of them, you know. Adam is the dad of dad jokes, you know. That sort of fucking humour that just makes me go, my eyes roll out on the floor. I'm like, oh my God. But no, that sounds like, because it's his birthday soon, and I think I might be a dick and buy him a book. So I might buy him that one.
But yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, I kind of knew that obviously they all had certain ways of like coming up with their comedy and stuff like that and merging it together. I think this is the first book that any of them had like really wrote about their lives. Obviously, you've got like Michael Palin's diaries and that as well now. And he's done all these travel books and things like that. And I think this is one of the first ones to really give you a background into any of them. And it kind of became all the more poignant because Graham's the one who sadly passed away. But I just love the the behind the scenes look. He was kind of like, although he's funny as all hell, there was some normal stories, there's some endearing stories, there's some sad stories, but you still come out the other side of it laughing your ass off. I mean, one story I absolutely love, and I just think it's really sweet because it's kind of like, to me, I wouldn't really expect Graham Chapman to be really good friends with Keith Moon from The Who. Right? They were really good friends. They were really good friends, and there's a story about Keith Moon in here, right? They were staying in a hotel. It was about 10 floors up they were staying, right? Graham was looking for something to drink in Keith's room, sorry. Keith Moon's room. Yeah. Because he was a gin drinker, but there was no gin in the room. So Keith, being the wonderful friend that he is, decides to hop out the window, 10 floors up, shimmy up the drain pipe into somebody else's room, steal their gin, shimmy back down, and come back into his room and provide Graham with a bottle of gin to drink.
There you go, miss. Enjoy.
It's kind of like a mixture of Graham's portrayed as quite a quiet gentleman, like outside of performing. So he's kind of like, oh no, don't worry about getting me a drink or anything like that. But like Keith's like, no, I'll get you a drink. I mean, Keith's not. He's also portrayed as quite a quiet man, but has that rock and roll side of it where I'm just gonna jump out the window and climb up the wall.
I'd be devastated if he got up the top and he was like, they've got no gin. You're like, whiskey.
It's kind of like he would do anything for his friend. At the same time, so it's endearing as well.
It is,
as dangerous as it was.
Albeit very, very crazy.
It's very crazy, and I mean, I love it as well because it's got a couple of pages at the end that were wrote by Eric Idle after Graham's funeral as well, and that kind of like that kind of like hits you right here and like makes you cry at the end.
Yeah. Do you know what I've found with comedy, like especially reading, listening to Adrian Edmondson, very troubled bloke. You know what I mean? And it's just it's almost like it's a testament to like the comedy. It's that's their escapism. You know what I mean? Like if you don't laugh, you'll cry, and they won't cry. You know, and it's so I think it's I'd love to look more into the autobiography because I love autobiography. Seriously, I'd eat them up. You know what I mean? I've done Stephen Fry's, which is just lovely. Audible because he was talking it, and I love when they talk.
Oh, that would be nice.
It's lovely, and but yeah, I'd love to like look at more like comedians. Because just is everyone as troubled as they seem? You know?
I suspect a lot of them are.
Yeah.
But no, I've got an autobiography that you'll be like, what? You've got that on your shelf? And I'm like, yeah. And I've been meaning to read it, and I've only got like a few bits through. Down the Rabbit Hole, Holly Madison, Girls of the Playboy Mansion.
Oh, I bet that would be
imagine.
I would read that.
But you know, on Big Fat Quiz of the Year, when they get Charles Dance to read a bit of an autobiography that you wouldn't expect him to be reading.
Oh yes.
Like I've seen him do things like what do you call her? Chantal from Big Brother and stuff like that. I've seen him do extracts of that. I imagine that he would read something from that book in the same manner.
Yes, but
I can see Charles Dance reading that.
It's just I've been meaning to. I've had it on my shelf. I borrowed it off my sister when she was alive, so that just shows how long it's been on my fucking shelf. You know what I mean? But we used to watch Girls of the Playboy Mansion, and we bought it on TV. I bought it from Music Zone, the series, and we used to sit and watch it.
Oh,
and I went through a phase. Like I bought a Miss April Playboy bunny. You know when Playboy was.
We did back in the day.
Me. No, I was about fucking 19. Like I was like
upstairs. Back in the day.
I was like a proper human. But I don't know. Do you know what? Everyone with books, it's awful because there was a snobbery and there is a snobbery that goes with books. If you're not well
Mm-hmm.
read, your classics. And the thing is, I remember studying literature, and who decided on what was the classics, men.
Yeah.
And do you know what? I think the best thing is to devour anything and everything that you can get your hands on. You've tried it.
Mm-hmm.
Give it a
Yeah.
try. If something jumps out, if you're looking and it's just like, oh God, that. If I look at a shelf and I'm like, right, that's
Jumps
jumping out
out.
at me. Yeah, exactly. Fucking luminous neon rave. You know what I mean? It jumps out at you. If there's something that draws me to it, I'll grab it. I'll read it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there is a little bit of snobbery. Well, not snobbery, but I do have like kind of was it favorite authors that would be classed as like, oh, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, what's your favorite? So, Jane Rhys. I have like a habit of buying a Jane Rhys book every time I go to Barter Books, which
Mm.
is a bit rare. Jane Rhys is one of my favorite authors. She's bit of a crazy one. She wrote Wide Sargasso Sea, which is the unofficial prequel to Jane Eyre. Basically, she gives Bertha, the mad woman in the attic, she gives her a history.
Okay, that's interesting.
Oh, right, yeah.
Didn't
So,
know that. I didn't know. I didn't know that that was unofficial. You know.
oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I had Jane Reese was like, I'm going to give that mad woman a voice,
Good for her.
and it's beautiful, and it's just like she people thought she died, but no, she just became a crazy recluse. She's a funny character, this Jane Reese, but she's written some other fantastic stuff, very feminist, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And I've got like kind of like the Penguin sort of style books of Jane Reese, and I'm very sort of protective of that. That's like my kind of right, yeah, yeah. If that's how I'm feeling, you know, if I need a boost in my, you know, femininity, you know, what it is to be a woman, fucking
Mm-hmm.
get Jean Reese on the go, come on. And you know, and yeah, I do like the classics, and you know, and but it's book snobbery that I can't handle. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I know I've said, you know, like Twilight, but the thing is, here I'm reading them.
You are reading them, and I mean,
Giving
Yeah,
them a
yeah.
you're entitled to that opinion. You've actually tried it.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. Like, I will not damn something until I've read it,
Yeah.
and
I
I've
really
got
like
an
that
opinion. You know what I
attitude.
mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just
I,
like
I, I
read
could take a
everything.
leaf out of your book on that front.
Leaf book.
Yep.
Okay. On that note,
Here
thank
that joke.
One thing I want to say for the end of it, just adding on from what Kelly's saying there, not just about the classics, and you were saying take it on in any form you can. So I just want to say, like, you know, we have mainly talked about like books in the like classical sense, like, you know,
Mhm,
paper, lots of words. I flashed up the Dragon Age graphic novels. I'm including graphic novels in books. We're including the anime in books. We're including
mhm.
comics in books. Anything like that, you know,
your
even if it's
fan
reading on
fiction. If
paper,
you're reading fan fiction, go for it.
fan fiction, yeah, it's a
100%.
book.
Go for
Hey,
it.
kids' books as well. Do you know what? I have had an absolute nostalgic trip down memory lane because I bought it's like, was it, you just put a donation in and you take some books.
Mhm.
The Worst Witch books.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm trying to get my tiny human into reading those because I absolutely love them, and the Weird Sisters. I don't think they made the Weird Sister College ones into books, but the television
Mhm.
series lives rent free in my head.
And I
But it's
also want to shout out Dolly Parton
Yes,
for her
our girl
book
Dolly.
incentives, for like, you know, donating as many books as she's had. I don't even know
yeah.
what the figure is at the minute, but like it's millions and millions of books she's donated to like kids across America and things like that. And I think
It's
it's such
actually
a
in
great
this.
thing
It's
to do.
actually in this country as well.
She moved over here, did she? To do
Yeah,
that as
it's
well.
available in certain
Aw.
areas over here. Just
Mhm.
because I was looking at it when Sophie became sort of really into books,
Mhm.
that yeah, it's actually available over here. It's not
Mm.
available in many places. There is still a little bit of gatekeeping around it because it's only available in certain places. But Dolly Parton, and the fact that she took the stance of she would rather spend her millions and her billions on educating people around the world with books.
Lush.
It's
Lush.
just amazing. Her imagination library,
Yeah.
it's an absolutely amazing
We love
project. And
Dolly.
yeah, we do.
Hail Dolly.
Yes. But
It's
thank
not
you.
what would Jesus do, it's what would Dolly do.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, that is to be fair, I think that is our motto.
I
That
have a
is our
little pin.
motto.
I've got a little pin badge of a pink cowboy boot that says "What would Dolly do" on it.
I nearly bought one of those last week, actually. Yes, thank you so much, Kelly, for being our first
Yes.
ever guest.
Thank you for having me.
It's been such a great chat.
Do you know what? I could keep on chatting.
easily.
It's
Yes.
so, because I need to give one more honourable mention
Okay.
Oh wait.
to the Scholastic book fairs at school.
Oh,
When you walked into that hall on a morning and you saw those metal fucking
Yes.
massive boxes on wheels, you were just like, yeah.
Yep.
yeah, 100%.
My life was punctuated by getting books because you take the catalogue home, you bloody
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Get the
read
pen
the
out.
whole thing,
Do
get
you
the
know
pen out.
something? We've actually had this conversation recently with my little one because she's getting into books. You know, we've got a millions of books in our house, and that's happened at school recently, and she was getting herself really anxious to the fact that she wasn't going to be able to get a book. And I was like, Sophie, when have I ever denied you in 8 years of you being alive a book? When have I ever said no over a book? And her teacher was hysterically laughing because I was literally like, in what universe have I ever said no to any type of book? I would rather, spend money on books than anything else. If you are going to read it, if you want me to read you the book, I will read it. And I just love it. I think books are amazing, and I think everyone should have that education of having that fair come into their school.
Definitely. Oh God, the buzz. Oh, even now, like I'll get a little like it. Oh, the Scholastic Book Fair.
Yeah.
But no, thank you so much for having me on.
Oh,
it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yes. And I'm sure we can think of occasions to have you back again because we have easily we have lots planned for the next 6 months.
Just call me the profanity boomerang. She'll be back.
She'll be back. Yes.
But right, so that comes to the end. I mean, as Kelly said, we could talk about books for a lot longer than we have. This is just kind of like a brief overview of what we've been thinking about for the last month. But right, next time on Women of Nerd Culture, we'll be talking about fantasy. Now, this is more like to do with fantasy movies, fantasy books, fantasy characters, fantasy stories. So you've got your Labyrinth, you've got your Lord of the Rings, so on, things like that. We've done the sci-fi side of things, so we're going to do fantasy now. Now I've got to think about what the other podcasts and web series are doing. Tomorrow on the main podcast, they're talking about Superman and Superman 2, the Christopher Reeve ones, with The Running Man and Star Wars coming up later in the month. We've got the last of the Gaming Up North podcast was earlier this week, and they're going through a little change at the moment, and they're going to do wrestling for a while. So looking at classic matches, the old classic wrestlers. I mean, I'm personally hoping for an episode on Macho Man.
We can live in hope.
We can live in hope. Monsters will be back on the 13th on Monday, which is eagerly anticipated. We don't know what they're doing. It's a surprise. But we've been told that the 13th is a great date for them to come back.
But if you've got any thoughts on what it could be, put it in the comments below.
Exactly. But we'll take that as well. Top Grumps are ranking Hitchcock and Scully from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is one of the best TV shows of all time. That'll be next Tuesday, I think. Countdown to Doomsday next Saturday. I think they're going to be talking about the Avengers now. Have I missed anything?
No, I think that is everything that we know of that's coming out as of this recording.
As of this
Jesus.
recording, that is everything up to date. But thank you everybody for watching. Thank you very much to Kelly for being here. Thank you
Thank
to
you for
Becca
having
for
me.
being my lovely co-host. And if you could stay tuned for just a few minutes after this, we've had some members of the Nerdy Up North group send us some little videos telling us about their favourite author, their favourite book, or their favourite book series. So stay tuned, everybody. Bye!
Bye.
Keep your hearts full and your fandoms fierce, people. We'll see you next time.
From the east coast of the colonies, where it's very, very cold. And we're waiting for snow later today. But I wanted to do my favorite books / series / authors, and how much time you got, because I could go on and on. If I start from childhood, my favorite book was Island of the Blue Dolphins by Scott Odell. And as a teen, there's a book called The Heavenly Horse from the Outermost West by Mary Stanton, I believe. And it was a bunch of horses, and they talked to each other, and there were, other animals too. There was a dog, there was wildlife. They all talked to each other, and it was a pretty cool story. And then as a teen, no, more like college age, a friend of mine got me into an author called Lynn Curlin, and she did a lot of time travel, medieval romance, and I ate that up. Stardust of Yesterday was my favorite book by her. But even that's kind of hard. She did so many good ones. They were all fabulous. And then we have a little bit more recently, I read a series called the Black Jewels Trilogy, and then there was Beyond the Three. There's a lot more books by Anne Bishop, and those were really good. It was more fantasy, magic centered, and I thought the stories on that were really good. And currently I am checking out Sarah J. Maas books. I've read the first of the Crescent City trilogy and working on the second, and I got the ACOTAR series for Christmas, so pretty stoked about that. But that's what I've got for you guys. Have a good one. Okay, take two.
Hi, Sarah here. My favourite series has to be Harry Potter. It's the series that got me into reading because I'd watched 7 movies and then was adamant I needed to know what happened. So I picked up a book and started reading, which was amazing considering I'm severely dyslexic. So that's the first thing I read from cover to cover, and definitely one of my favourites still.
I can never choose just one favourite book. So here's some I would really recommend, and I really think have been really well written. So for fantasy and dragons, ascended by Michael R. Miller, this has been one of the best books I've ever written. It is absolutely brilliant, and we have talking dragons, what's more. When I go into a romance, I like something sweet and easily done. Christina Lauren's one of my favourites, just go on for that. And fantasy, different worlds, has to be Fullmetal Alchemist, which is a manga, because it's absolutely fantastic.
Hey, women in nerd culture. You've asked me what my favourite book is to read, and I've got like a little nighttime, bedtime story that I like to read for me and Finley before we go to sleep, and it is the Necronomicon. I think it's an easy read and full of indescribable joy. Thanks, bye.
So my favourite author is Stephen King. I love the way that he builds his characters up and his worlds up, and not just that, but the eclectic types of books that he writes as well. It's like just so many different types. You've got like sci-fi in there, then you've just got pure horror and thrillers. Like if you look at Misery, like that's just a classic thriller. Then you've got the sci-fi stuff like Running Man, and then obviously the horror stuff like The Shining. Not only that as well, but he does like short books, short stories, as well as obviously the mammoth, like The Stand. So like depending on your mood, if you want to just jump into a short book and you know it's going to be finished soon, he's got them, like Stand By Me and things like that. And then he's obviously got the longer books, like I mentioned, The Stand, It, Dark Tower books and things like that. But yeah, I really enjoy his book.
So a quick video about a book that I like, or character, or an author. I think an early one that influenced us in fantasy and science fiction has got to be Neil Gaiman. When I first read Neverwhere as a teenager. Loved the story, loved the premise about an ordinary guy who falls into the cracks of London and suddenly sees there's a whole world kind of mixed in, kind of blended together. I loved the way he combined the London Underground, how the tube stations, they're not just names, they actually mean things. So especially the chapter on the Knightsbridge. But no, I think that was a really influential book for me early on in regards to getting into fantasy and sci-fi genre, and I think Neil Gaiman is just a fantastic author. But yeah, interesting fact about the book, I know he wrote it alongside the same time because he'd been commissioned by BBC Two. So there is a TV series, like a mini-series called Neverwhere, and I do know that while they were busy doing, obviously, the sit-down and the readings and the ideas, he'd be like, "Oh, I've got this brilliant idea." And he's like, "Well, sorry, Neil, we can't put it in the TV series." "Oh, it's fine, I'll put it in the book." So the TV series and the book were collaborated at around the same time. But yeah, so normally people write a book and then they make a movie or a TV show afterwards. But this was very much the TV series and the book kind of came at the same time. But yeah, no, Neverwhere, I would recommend it. Brilliant book. It's not very big, but yeah, just the concepts inside it are really good.